welcome everyone. Thanks for coming on out. Jumbo, what a good to see you again. Alrighty, here we go. And Kirabuni, everyone. Kirabuni does me a welcome in Swahili. So welcome aboard. Watch your step getting on the truck. Hopefully everyone's having an awesome day so far. My friends on the right side of the truck, watch your hands, arms, feet, legs. Those doors are going to slide shut.
Make sure you can't sit on the outside.
Asante-san awarded, as we say here in Harambe, Twende, which does mean let's go. So Twende friends, let's get a move on. Jumbo, everybody. My name is Chris, and I'll be your safari guide on our adventure through the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. For your safety and the safety of others, make sure you're keeping our hands, arms, feet, and legs within the right vehicle at all times, as well as remaining seated through the entire safari. If you take a look up, there's an animal spotting guide that'll help you keep track of any animals we may be spotting ourselves out there. Due to eating and migration patterns, we may not see all of them, but we do tend to get pretty lucky. Now, if you plan on taking any photos or videos today, feel free to get those cameras and phones out now. Get them kind of prepped and ready to go. Make sure that the flash is off and you have action or sports mode activated, as that's going to help with a little bit of the shakiness we'll be experiencing on out there. With that in mind, we're going to hold on extra tight to loose articles like those phones and cameras, especially our hats, glasses, mini Mickey ears, anything that can fall on out, as we're not going to get those things back until the very end of the day. And as our friends make our way on, and we're going to be just behind them, getting on into the reserve. Seems like we're excited. Okay, I like it, I love it. I'm assuming this might be our first time here. Gonna give a quick raise of hands. Anyways, first safari out here. Awesome, perfect. All right, there we go. Well, we're gonna have a good time out there. Now I know it does get super exciting seeing all these animals, especially if it's for your first time. We are gonna want to be as calm as we can around them. We of course don't want to be scaring these animals away as often as they are around us. Sudden noises can definitely still scare them. We don't want to scare them away from the trucks. Of course, that defeats the whole purpose of a safari. But kick back, relax. Feel free to talk amongst each other. Make sure we're not being too loud, making those unnecessary noises, and we'll make our way on out and have ourselves a good safari. But here we go, guys, into our first location of the day. This here is the Little Ituri Forest. Animals here rely heavily on camouflage, so we're going to keep our eyes peeled for some of the sneakier animals out and around today. Coming up on the far there we go, not bad. Over on the far right, we can start to see one of our friends, the okapi. Now, okapis do look a little bit like zebras with their striped front and hind legs, but as odd as it sounds, they're actually really closely related to giraffes, kind of where that works out. But they have very similar skull structures. They even have the same long, silly tongues that giraffes have. At one point in time, they were also really tall animals, but as they started to evolve here in the woods, they started to get shorter and shorter. Of course, their bodies adapted to their surroundings, and all their food was down here. Kind of peeking over this bush here on our right, we're also going to see one on the left, two of the saddle-billed storks on the reserve. Saddle-billed storks, of course, get their names from the bright yellow saddle-like shape on the top half of those bills. Really easy way to remember that. Way back over there on the left, kind of grabbing a bite to eat, you can see one of the black rhinos on the reserve. It's kind of along the wall back there. Now, black rhinos weigh around 3,000 pounds and can charge as fast as 35 miles per hour. A lot faster than most people may think. And it looks like our research group is out and around, feeding a couple of our antelope buddies up ahead here. We're going to be seeing our friends, the greater kudu. Now, greater kudu are the ones without the horns. We're going to be seeing another set of antelopes, the bongo. They're going to be the ones with the horns, and they're actually really close relatives to one another. But the greater kudu, they are the second largest antelopes on the reserve, weighing around 750 pounds. And the bongo, there's actually one just in front of us crossing the road. They're actually known as the ghost of the forest, and that's because of how rare they're actually seen out there in Africa. You can see all these very unique markings. They have a really long set of horns, kind of like a little bit of a swooping motion there. It allows them to kind of make their way into some tightly wooded areas out there. Moving things out of the way is not a problem for them. Not too bad, always a good time. But we're gonna head on out of the Ituri and into our next location of the day. Up ahead is the Safi River. Now, animals out in the Safi are of course gonna rely on the water, so we're gonna keep our eyes peeled on that, above it, below it, anything around that'll give us a good sign of what might be joining us today. Now, my friends, on the right side of the truck, we're going to keep our eyes peeled for some of our friends out there in the water. While my friends, on the left side, you're going to be spotting the next river a little bit further on down. But as you can see, there's actually 2 Nile hippos way over there on the right. They kind of look like rocks almost. You can see one of them kind of peeking out of the water right there. Now, Nile hippos weigh around 5,000 pounds, and that weight actually brings them down to the very bottom of lakes and rivers that they end up crossing. It's super safe for them. They can actually hold their breaths for up to 8 minutes at a time, and their day is well spent underwater, so it doesn't give them too much to worry about. You're seeing a whole bunch of these vultures. A whole bunch of them usually hang around wherever Nile hippos are. They usually hop up on their backs, and it allows them to go ahead and just hang out with each other. Not too sure why, but we love them, so that's okay. Over on the left, we're seeing some of the pink-backed pelicans on the reserve. There's a bunch more vultures, other birds that do make their way onto the reserve. But the pink-backed pelicans, we want to be seeing them. They're the ones with the super long bills. And they actually have pink colors along their backs. That's obviously how they get their names. But not too bad. Good sight of them. Let's see. Anything down and out this way? Anything by the waterfalls? Ooh, our friends the Nile crocodiles are definitely out here today. You can see them over here on the left. Now, Nile crocodiles weigh around 500 pounds and reach lengths up to about 15 feet long, sometimes even longer. That actually makes them the largest crocodilian species in Africa. Definitely strong animal, not really ones we want to be caught messing around with out there, as they can be pretty dangerous. They do give us a good reason to kind of play it safe out there, no matter what kind of animal you come across, no matter how dangerous it may seem. We definitely don't want to take any chances out there, folks. Establishing a couple early rules to follow, as well as making sure you're doing a little bit of research on these animals and locations you're going to be visiting. It's going to go a pretty long way at the end of the day. You're going to be able to handle everything out there, or at least the things that you're able to research on. Kind of get prepared for whatever's going to happen. But we are starting to make our way on out now, out of the Safi and into the savannah. It seems to be where our journey is bringing us to. But it looks like we're having a little bit of a holdup, which is just fine. Animal stops happen all the time here on the reserve, which causes just a little bit of a backup, which is just fine. Like I said, we're going to make sure we take our time with our animal friends here today. If they're out in the middle of the road, we obviously want to make sure that they can get out of the road. So we don't want to rush them or anything. If anything comes to a final decision, our research group gets on out there and actually lure them up with a little bit of food. So it's a great way to handle that. I need to see the full experience out here, but we're starting to make our way a little bit further on in. Now, the savannah is home to some very familiar animals. This is kind of home to the animals you think of off the top of your head when you first think of this place. This is home to giraffes, zebras, elephants, lions, a whole bunch of different animals. But we're going to see what we can come across for ourselves today. Now, coming up on our right, once we get past these bushes, I can see one of them. There might be a couple more hanging around here. Actually, yeah, there we go. We're going to be able to see our friends, the Hartman Mountain zebras. We're going to see one by the bushes out here, or 2 by the bushes out here. We're going to pass them by along with the Hartman Mountain zebras. Have a very unique way of controlling and regulating their body temperature. That is known as the dewlap. It is located along their necks, guys. If you take a close look at their necks. Their necks have their blood vessels that flow through them, and in particular, those ones carry excess body heat. On really, really hot days, with a simple shake of their head, they're able to disperse that excess body heat. Very simple for them to take on hot days out there. All the way out there, kind of in between these trees and this little green field there, you can see some of the springbok, these really tiny antelope. Hopefully we get a little bit closer to them, we can start to see them. But springbok are very fast antelopes, folks. They are a spot amongst the top 10 fastest land mammals in the world. And they have to rely on their agility a lot of the time, so much so that they actually escape the grasp of lots of cheetahs out there. And we know cheetahs to be the fastest land mammals in the world. So it's super easy for them to get on out of there. It's pretty impressive to be recognized for that. But let's see if we definitely get closer to them. Over on the left, we're seeing the spotted hyenas. You can see them kind of grabbing a bite to eat right now. Spotted hyenas don't belong to any particular families but their own, which means they're not canines, nor are they felines. They They actually belong to what we call the Hyenidae, and in their groups that we call clans, females lead those groups. They make the last decisions on everything out there. They want to make sure that everything is divided out properly, making sure they decide who stays back to protect the clan, who goes out to hunt. And they will always make sure that the youngest and eldest eat first. They're definitely noble amongst each other, kind of keeping track of one another, having each other's backs pretty much through the entire day, 365 days a year. Over here on the left, just past the bushes, and kind of a weird spot, you might have to look over your shoulder a little bit. Those are the sable antelope, the ones with the super long broad back horns. They're actually the symbol of the Kilamanjaro Safaris. And we can see these springbok a little bit better. I don't know about you guys, but they kind of remind me of a bunch of s'mores out there. They just kind of look like it. I don't know, I might be hungry. Just me. But they are very, very awesome antelopes. They're not going to get any bigger than that, folks, which is why they do have to rely on their agility so often. Now this is where the road gets a little bit bumpier, friends, so hold on extra tight to those things. Like I said, don't want to lose them out there, especially if you're taking photos on the edges of the truck. But here we go. We can start moving on out. Seems like a whole bunch of the brindled wildebeest is going to be way over there on the left in this open field. And we're also going to get another sight of those Hartman Mountain zebras as we start to pass them on by too. It's like along the tall grass, there's also some Ankoli cattle. They're the only domesticated animals on the reserve. Essentially thanks to the Watusi tribe. They were the first to domesticate them, so we really got the Watusi to thank for Ankoli cattle being such well-behaved animals around us. As you're going to start to see, they have super, super long horns. They can reach up to about 6 feet in total length. And that's actually how they cool down. That's how we were able to compare them to the Hartman Mountain zebras. They have a very similar system, but instead of their blood vessels flowing through their neck, it flows through their horns thanks to a honeycomb pattern. Coming up on the left along this hill, these are the largest antelopes on the reserve. These are Patterson's eland. If you're seeing that big fellow way up there, you can kind of see the muscle on him. He is tough. That is Big Ben. He's the largest antelope out here, folks. He weighs just over 2,000 pounds. He has 6 feet at just the shoulder. And despite how large him and his friends can get, they can all leap 6 feet into the air from just a standing position, which is not an easy thing to do. Very cool to see Ben hanging around. But it looks like we're going to be seeing our friends, the Maasai giraffes out here. If you're a fan of giraffes, we're definitely going to get a good look at all of them. These brindled wildebeest, like I mentioned, are out and around too. They travel in really large groups, folks, up to 1.5 million at a time. There's a lot of room out there in the savannah. Not only is it beneficial for the given size of those groups, but because of how much they migrate. They actually move about 500 to 1,000 miles a year when they're not resting, and sleeping, and eating. They're always making a move out there. They don't want to stick around in one area for too long, as if they eat up all that food, it's not going to grow back, and they realize that very easily, so they're doing that obviously to benefit themselves, but in the end also benefits the rest of the animals around here. And here are those Maasai giraffes. Now they're one of two types out in Africa, and I want you to pay close attention to their patterns. Those patterns in particular have a little bit of a jagged edge to them, little marks here and there. While they are definitely very awesome animals, there's another set of them out there, reticulated giraffes. They're also amazing. They actually have very, very firm edges on their patterns. Nonetheless, though, still makes them all the tallest animals in the world, reaching heights of about 16 to 20 feet tall. Really getting on up there, trimming the undersides of lots of trees, the top sides of a lot of these bushes, or even these little cliff sides. Anything that they can get to head level, it's going to be a lot easier for them. Looks like coming up, we're going to be seeing a couple of our friends, the African elephants. Looks like they were just kind of waiting to greet us over here. So we'll get moving along. Now, elephants are incredibly smart animals, folks. They have a fantastic memory. I personally think they have a really good sense of humor. They definitely know when stuff is happening out there that seems to be pretty silly. And here we go. Get a great view as we kind of stroll along here. See, they're all grabbing a bite to eat now. Now, these elephants are very, very intelligent animals. They actually kind of pick up a couple of traits that we do. Lots of the times they're going to be around those researchers as they're going to be taking care of them all day long. And so often that they actually kind of picked up physical traits from us, stuff that we do with our legs or our arms. You know, there's some elephants that wave with their trunks because of some of the researchers out there. They kind of are out there for a little bit. You know, when you stand still for too long, you kind of cross your legs. There's a couple of elephants out there that cross their legs too. It's kind of funny to see. But We're going to keep moving along and head on over to what we call the family area, or a second location that these elephants tend to hang around is. So we'll go ahead and swing on over there ourselves. Now it is thanks to our researchers that we do find out a ton about these elephants, not only because they're here on the reserve, but we did have to take our time and efforts out to Africa ourselves. We wanted to make sure everything was just right for them. We wanted to make sure that none of our information was wrong. It was going to go a super long way at the end of the day, as it was going to be a really big responsibility taking care of them here on the reserve. But pretty early on in our discoveries, we actually discovered some pretty interesting stuff. We accidentally found out that elephants are, a matter of fact, afraid of bees. This is very useful information. They absolutely hate bees. They want nothing to do with them. Don't blame them. Herds of bees, or big swarms of bees. Pretty scary, just saying. But it is very good that we know this information because it helps our friends out in Kenya. At the time, those farmers had a little bit of a problem where elephants would show up on their crop fields, eat a whole bunch of their food, and leave a big old mess behind. But these elephants are doing it because they're hungry. They need to eat lots and lots of food in order to keep up a healthy diet. Well, that's all right. We want them to do that. We don't want them, however, to eat into the reserves that these farmers are growing. Obviously, it's their responsibility to feed thousands of other people out there. So using the knowledge of the bees, these farmers came up with a great idea. They came up with the idea of beehive fences, wooden boxes that pretty much work like homes, actually amplifiers for these bees. They make a whole bunch of noise. The farmers put them all along their crops. It's a great way to resolve that whole problem. These elephants don't go anywhere near those crop fields anymore. It also kind of gives us another reason to protect the bees around the world. But it does not only affect those two groups out there, it affects a third group, our nonprofit organization scattered across Africa. Disney is funding us so many operations in order to protect a whole bunch of our animal friends. Right now, unfortunately, poaching is still a very big problem out there, not only out in Kenya, but all around Africa. Lots of these animals, especially painted dogs, but elephants and rhinos being hunted and poached for their tusks and their horns. It's not only affecting their lives, but affecting the rest of the wildlife out there. Circle of life is something super easy and super simple to understand, and super precious, as we are also a part of the circle of life. It's kind of in our best interest to stand on up and protect as many animals as we can. Definitely just something to think about. But here we are on Flamingo Island, home to the greater flamingos. They've got the lightest shade of pink of all of their species, and this is thanks to their diets. Their diets actually consist of brine shrimp and other water creatures that are really high in carotene. That's what's turning their feathers and skin pink. But you can see a couple here and there that aren't necessarily all pink just yet. That is because they're still very, very young. About 8 or 9 months ago, there were tiny little gray fur balls out there, and they couldn't even go into the shallow end of the water. It was really fun to see. But now they are really, really tall, and now all they have left is pretty much those pink colors to grow on, and just like everybody else out there. Very, very beautiful animals. Always fun to catch them around. We're going to move on into this half of the reserve. Over here on the left, right off the bat, we can notice one of the mud wallows out there, that big body of mud in between the trees out here. And the reason we keep an eye out for them is because rhinos use mud wallows. Rhinos will roll around in them. It will allow them to, of course, get that mud all over their skin, and they're able to go ahead and cool off. But that is used for more of the warm days. It's actually very, very nice out. It's absolutely beautiful. So I wouldn't be too surprised if they were near it at least. Probably not going to be using it today. So it doesn't seem like it was used at all, not even once. It was pretty cool this morning. It did heat up a little bit, but again, a cool little breeze, lots of clouds out. Doesn't mean we can't keep an eye out for them. And these guys, folks, and these rhinos are actually really sneaky animals. They can kind of come out of nowhere almost. So we're going to keep our eyes peeled for them. They can hide in between trees and bushes, or even sometimes just walk out in the open and you would never even notice them. But let's see if we can spot them ourselves while we're around here today. Let's see. Anyone out over here? There were definitely some copy rocks on the far right over here. We can actually head on out to, but it looks like there's not much on this end, so we'll head on over there to those copy rocks. And the reason we keep an eye out for them is because they're homes to some very strong animals, really popular ones too. This is actually home to lions. Lions love their copy rocks. It gives them a good height advantage over the land that they're living on. There's actually one of the male lions right now taking a little bit of a nap. It's my buddy Dakari. He's hanging on out today. We're gonna see him right here. We're gonna take a nice quick little stop for everyone to see him. He is sleeping on in the grass, a perfect spot for him. Now, lions are definitely big kitties. They're big cats out there, the largest carnivores in Africa. They're very strong animals, guys, but they do use a lot of energy. You can see there's actually another one a little bit further on up.
It's the female.
And they do have to use a ton of energy in their daily tasks, so it's super important they get enough rest. They actually spend about 20 hours a day sleeping and resting, keeping their energy up in order to carry out those daily tasks. Because they do spend about 20 hours a day doing so. Well, that's during the daytime. They spend the rest of their hours out there up during the nighttime. That's when they're a little bit more active and awake.
Oh, she moves.
Yeah, I'm just kind of waking on up a little bit there. Hopefully we've all seen The Lion King. There are two things we're gonna get from this little area. One, Pride Rock is actually a Kobe formation, very tall rocks. And two, the reason Simba was up all night in that one scene is because he is a nocturnal animal. He's always going to be up during the nighttime and not really too much during the day.
Nope.
Over here on the left, if we remember, he had a best friend out there. Two best friends, Timon and Pumbaa. Unfortunately, Timon's buddies aren't out here on the reserve, but Pumbaa's buddies definitely are. Really large burrowing animals. Warthogs. Warthogs live in the ground, folks. Not live in there all day long. But when they rest, that's when they're more than likely going to be inside those burrows, keeping themselves protected from pretty much every single angle out there. They're going to back into those burrows, expose their sharp tusks, and allow them to go ahead and protect themselves as they sleep. Over there on the right, those giant eggs are ostrich eggs. We can definitely keep an eye out for them, but I'm pretty sure we would have spotted them by now. They are the world's largest birds. They're really hard to miss. If they were to walk right up to the truck, we'd probably be face to face with them. To kind of put that into perspective, folks, we are 8 feet off the ground. That makes them a really, really big bird. So, it seems like they're not out and around right now, which is just fine. We do have one last location on our list today. We're actually moving on into my favorite location on the reserve. This here is Magadi Glen. And this is home to the Nigerian dwarf goats. They're about 2 feet tall, so they didn't need a ton of room. We figured, why not? Get them on out here. They can live where the warden's base of operations is. The warden and their team coming in out here all day long anyway, so it gives them a great opportunity to take care of them. They just recently had some new friends out here. This is why it's been my favorite. Not really new friends, but new family members. They just recently had babies. You're going to see a couple of the baby goats on the reserve. But there you go. You can see there's actually 3 of the adults over there. Oh, there we go. You can see they're kind of pumping on up. They're going to do what they can to go ahead and kind of just physically mature themselves out there. Of course, you can only do so much at 2 feet tall, so they can definitely do what they can to stay as strong as possible. Yeah, great opportunity to get them on out here. We can introduce so many of them to you guys and so many of you guys to them. Thanks to y'all that they make friends every single day out here. Thousands more than they would usually over at Rafiki's Planet Watch. If you care to visit them over there, there's a handful of the babies. I believe they should still be over there that you can meet yourself in the affection section. Thanks to area that we have here in Harambe. But we'll go ahead and get going here. A great way to go ahead and wrap up our adventure here in the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. We saw a ton of really cool animals. Hopefully saw your favorite one, maybe even made a new one today. We also really hope you learned something new. If not, it gives you a great excuse to come on back for another safari. It does not have to be right after this. I believe our last truck will depart from the village at 6:45. I want to say 6:45. We do close out a little bit sooner than the rest of the park does, simply because we want to make sure that these animals have enough time to have a little bit to themselves before they go to bed. So make sure you plan the rest of your day accordingly. That does not just go for us here at Kilamanjaro's, but the rest of the park. All those attractions are going to be closing down around the same time. But the rest of them, those big attractions, like the ones out in Pandora or out in Asia, get on out there so you can go ahead, have a good time no matter where your journeys may bring you. We don't want you folks to lose sight of what's really important, folks, what's going on out there. As fun as it is to see so many of our animal friends out and around on the reserve all throughout the parks, it's super important that we realize that we have to make a big change here really, really soon. Super important we understand that these animals here on the reserve, yes, they have homes, but they have friends all around the world that are unfortunately losing their homes as well. It's really, really important we protect this place, folks. Not only is it going to benefit these animals, but it's going to benefit us too in the long run. protecting planet Earth is a big mission that not only us here at Animal Kingdom are en route to go ahead and figure out, but for everybody else around here at Disney. We're dedicating a lot of our time and resources to protecting this place. Want to make sure that the grass stays green, the air is fresh, and hopefully one day keeping the oceans as clean as they've ever been. We of course are looking out for our animal friends out there in the aquatic realm of the world. We want to make sure we're sticking up for as many animals as possible. But as you can see, we do have one truck in front of us that does need to get cleared on out, so as soon as they move on forward, they drop off their friends over there. We're going to get you guys back.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Please like and subscribe to MAB Adventures. Thanks for watching.